Come on. All right, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
Here
Oh, there we
3,
go.
2, 1.
No.
Well, we are live, and it's Skip Clark. Skip happens, Deb Lamphere, the president and founder of the Country Music Fan Club. And of course, tonight, our guest. So excited to have him on board with us. We've had a great conversation when the mics have been off. But y'all say hello to Brandon Ratcliff. Brandon, how are you? Man, what's going on?
I'm doing fantastic, my man. I've had a busy week this week, but I just got back from Louisiana. I went in. That's where I'm from. I'm from Cotton Valley, Louisiana, and so we went in this past weekend to kind of do some. It's actually the first trip I've ever made home where I did. Since I lived there, it's the first trip I've ever made home where I did some actual work. We worked hard and we played hard because every night my wife is we're both from the same area, so like we told our folks, we're like, hey, I'm gonna be doing some work when we get in town, but every night we want to have like an absolute party, bring everybody over to the backyard at my folks' house, and let's just all see each other. And man, it was a blast, honestly.
I bet. Yeah. So wait a minute, where are you from again?
I'm from Louisiana originally.
What town?
I'm from a tiny speed trap town called Cotton Valley, Louisiana.
Did you say speed trap town?
Oh yeah, that's it. It's got one caution light, and if you blink your eyes for too long, you will miss it. I mean, you'll drive straight through it and not even know.
What is it near? Give us some idea what that little town is near.
So most people, as soon as I say Louisiana, they go New Orleans, and I'm like, no, that's like 5 hours away. It's 5 hours south. I'm at like the very northeast corner of the boot. And it's like, the closest like big town is Shreveport or Bossier.
Oh, I know Shreveport because my brother-in-law lived there for a while with his family.
And right off the bat, somebody by the name of Gordy, well, I know who Gordy is, said you can't get to Cotton Valley from Syracuse.
Yeah, it's a long ways away, my man.
Oh yeah,
long drive.
Tell Deb and I, where are you right now, and describe your surroundings a little bit.
So right now I am deep in the heart of Nashville, Tennessee. I'm down near the 8th Avenue, 12th South area. It's kind of where me and my wife have lived the past few years. And I mean, it's kind of typical Nashville. The scenery keeps changing every what feels like a couple of weeks. I mean, there's just right down the road. There is a massive Publix that has came up out of nowhere, and I'm kind of on the 8th Avenue street, and so this street is has been perpetually changing. It seems like the last few years, but really this year, I mean, it every time I go out, it's like there's a new building or there's a demolished or something. So it's changing, but we got our first weather snap this week. So the fall weather is hot in Tennessee right now. So I love it.
You said it's hot.
No, it's coming in hot.
Oh, okay. Don't talk to us about the fall weather. We're in the Northeast. We'll tell you. We've already had our frost.
I was like, y'all are probably a little bit ahead, I'm sure.
A little bit, but it's a beautiful time to be in this part of the country. Deb and I both know that with the colors and everything, it's absolutely beautiful here in the Northeast. But maybe what a lot of people don't know about you, first of all, being Brandon Ratcliff, you've got a song. You can hear it here in the queue. So we're playing it on the Wolf. Sometimes, always, never. It took one listen of that for me, put that on the radio, and I said, I got to play this. So that's pretty cool. You already, thank you. You're so welcome and so happy to do it. You already are signed to a major label with you. If I'm not mistaken, you're with the Sony Music Group and Monument Records, which is good. That's very cool. And why don't you tell everybody about your family background? I know you come from the Cox family.
Yes, that's right. So we that was kind of a little bit of what we were doing this past weekend was I've kind of been digging into a little bit of that. As I was telling you guys before we kind of went live, I'm really, really heavily working on some new stuff right now. And one of the things I'm working on is kind of some autobiographical kind of songwriting about this kind of stuff, my family, where I came from, and all this kind of stuff. And for those people who don't know, my family was in a bluegrass, traditional country, gospel band.
Don't forget Grammy Award winning.
Yes, that's right. Grammy Award winning.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really funny, man. I have some amazing stories. This past weekend, we were just, going through all these old memories, and my mom was just, telling. I brought a couple friends down to Nashville. To Louisiana, and she was breaking out all the pictures and everything. And man, it's so cool to see. Like, my mom's got pictures of them with like Keith Whitley, with my grandpa, with Adam Duritz from the Counting Crows. And we were just kind of going through all this stuff, like George Clooney, John Goodman. It's all these crazy things they've done because, again, because they were, had been playing for so long and knew people like worked with people like Alison Krauss. My mom, she showed me this incredible voicemail of Dolly Parton, believe it or not, calling my mom, and we were all sitting around the living room and just listening to this voicemail, like in awe. Like, everybody was just jaw dropped, and it was Dolly Parton basically asking my mom to do like a trio record with her and Alison Krauss, and man, it was just like we were all just jaw dropped. And I was like, I told my mom, I said, this would be like the equivalent of John Mayer and Eric Church calling me up and being like, we're thinking about doing a trio record. Like, would you want to, join? I'd be like, yes, hell yeah. When and where?
It'd be like, hello?
Yeah. Exactly. I'm just like, it was really crazy. And honestly, like for me growing up in that, environment, sometimes I feel weird. Like a buddy of mine was kind of getting some, interview stuff for me this week. And he was asking me about the same stuff. And I told him, I was like, man, I feel weird talking about it sometimes because I feel like I'm bragging. But then I remember it's not me, it's my family. Like, I have nothing to do with it. I happen to be born in this family and they, they're very accomplished and good at what they do. So, I'm learning to get better at talking about it because it's not, I have nothing to do
with it. I get it.
Yeah, it is hard.
It's not an
but it's fascinating,
It really is fascinating. And, how is it growing up in that type of a family, though, knowing that you have all that going on within the fam?
I think it for a couple things it did to me. Number one, I really, whether I knew it or not, and I'm a pretty self-aware guy, but I really did as a kid, I think, take it for granted because when I look back at all the stuff they did now, I'm impressed because I'm just like, wow, the people that they worked with. It's pretty profound the amount of people my folks knew. And just being this small family band from Cotton Valley, Louisiana, it's pretty crazy to see all the things that they've done. But also, like for me, as someone who's constantly growing in my own artistry and songwriting, and you're always evolving. You're always trying to learn new things and trying to better yourself. And what I've kind of really realized recently is just how good they were at entertaining. Like I was talking to a friend of mine recently in town, and he was kind of giving me some like friendly criticism, and he was like, man, when we go on these lives, he was like, you guys need to be more prepared to just like entertain. Like, it needs to be song after song to like never stop, and I was like, man, it kind of hit me where, it hit me. I was like, damn, he's kind of being a little critical. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, man, growing up, that was one thing like I took for granted about my family, but I have to give them props. They never had a moment of silence. Like if they were playing at a show or a family event or like a holiday party or whatever it was, like if it was their time to sing or play, like they were ready at the drop of a hat. Like they never had a moment where they were like, what are we playing next?
Right. Right.
I so admire that as an entertainer. Now I get to the point where it's kind of like a little bit like people like Garth Brooks, where you admire the ability he has to just like, or Eric Church is the same way, like they're just true entertainers, and they can keep giving it to you and keep giving it to you. And you're like, man, you have to sit back and applaud that. And as a like I said, as a young up and coming musician, I see that and I go, I can always get better, because that is really an impressive thing to do. It's just
right.
Well, basically,
You say young and up and coming. Can I ask, you're in the low 20s, right? You're under 25, or are you 25 now?
I am over 25 now. I'm closer to 30 than I am 20 now.
No way. Somebody lied to me. I should never trust the web.
I'm 26 years old now. I just turned 26 in July, and yeah, man, it's kind of weird for me to even say that. I still feel like some days I'm in my teens, but then I just had shoulder surgery recently,
right?
And
okay,
these things start to make me feel my age a little bit, because you start to feel a little less resilient. You notice, like, man, when I work out really hard now, if I ain't worked out in like a month, I'm down for like a good 7 days now.
Hey, Brandon, I want to introduce you to Brian. Brian is one of our local artists.
And Brian, how you doing?
Brian is rocking the house here in the Q's, and he's been to Nashville a few times, and getting his feet wet a little bit. And he's a big fan of yours. I do know that for a fact. And a lot of what Brian does is very similar to your style, Brandon. So that's kind of cool. So I said, yeah, you can join us on the podcast tonight if you like.
So I want to take a bet.
We talked a little bit about it, and I said, I want to get.
Yeah, man, go ahead, Deb.
No, I'm just joking. I was just joking around. I was going to take a bet to see how long you can talk without mixing up all the names that we've been talking about with the bees tonight.
Brian,
Brandon.
And I don't know. I'm gonna mess it all up tonight.
Deb's son is Brendan, but also my brother's name is Brian. So yeah.
Oh, geez.
There we go.
It's bound to happen. Hey, Brian, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. I really appreciate being a part of this. Brandon, like Skip said, I'm a huge fan, man, and I've been coming back and forth to cope. The situations right now slow me down from getting down there full time. But I'm a country artist, huge fan. I look up to you and love your work, man. And so I'm actually gonna be back down there from October 3rd to the 15th for meetings and working on stuff. I just recently finished up my debut, cut my debut album, put my first single out not too long ago, man. So.
Nice, dude. Well, hey, I so appreciate that, man. I cannot tell you how humbling it is to ever hear someone say that. I'm definitely not deserving of it, but I will.
Stop, dude. Stop yourself right there.
So maybe you'll be down there. He's doing a writer's round.
Yeah, that's
coming
right.
Up. You don't have a date, do you, by any chance?
I just have a bunch of writes going on and stuff like that in meetings. But where are you gonna be playing around there? A writer's round, a couple of them.
I'm looking. Let me look, because I just was telling them I have it somewhere in my calendar. Somebody just asked me, what day did you say you were coming in?
So I'm down there from the 4th of October till the 15th.
Oh, dang, it's the 21st.
We get 10 Pan South, right?
Week
almost about a week, man.
I know. Dang. I know shows are really, really sparse these days. I wouldn't mind if they slipped another one.
Hey, Brandon, let's talk a little bit more about you. And when you got signed, how long ago did you get signed by Sony or Monument?
Oh, man. It
was a while ago now, right?
It was. I was going to say, in some ways, it feels like it was just yesterday, but especially with this year rolled in, it feels like it was about 10 years ago. It was probably, I think, 3 years ago. It was, let's see, it's 2020. It was probably, I think, 2017, the summer, fall of 2017. So yeah, I've been there for a minute now. Yeah, met Shane McAnally.
Shane is one of the best. Yep.
Yeah, he's one of the best. I love Shane. He's great. And he just kind of like believed and validated kind of what I was doing very early on. And so for someone who's kind of a little bit more in the new school way of doing things, a guy like Shane's mentality for how he sees, the music industry and all this stuff is really attractive to someone like me, because I love people who I just love people who do things different. I love trailblazers. I want to be that kind of person myself in my career. So yeah,
I can see you being the trailblazer. It seems like, it's not what's behind you. You're looking ahead. You're looking like, what can I do now? I don't want to go back and look on the backside of things. I want to look forward. You know,
absolutely. Honestly, that's been one of the. I mean, like we were talking a little bit about this before we went live, but that's kind of one of. I guess it's the plight of the creator a little bit, you know. But that's kind of one of the more frustrating things to me as an artist. Is I'm so you're always like ready to do to beat the thing you've done before, and so like most artists I know, you make your first record or you make your second record or whatever, and you're already over that thing. You know, you're on writing new stuff, and everybody is like telling you, they're like, man, I love this thing, and all that runs through your mind is like, oh yeah, that thing is cool, but man, you should hear this new thing I just did like that. This thing is awesome. So for me, like that's the hardest like cross to bear, you know, as an artist, is just always feeling like you aren't good enough and that you're getting better. But at the same time, like I wouldn't have it any other way, because to me, like being complacent is probably, maybe the worst thing you could be. So if you were kind of satisfied, I would say there's probably maybe something wrong.
Always striving to do better.
Yeah. Hey, I didn't know if Deb had a question. I'm sorry. Do you have any side hustles going on?
I
Or are you just doing the music thing?
So I had shoulder surgery about a month and a half ago.
Okay. Yeah.
And right before I did that, a couple buddies of mine started working a landscaping job here in Nashville.
Okay.
And, honestly, not even for money, because my wife fortunately has kept working during like quarantine and everything. She hasn't missed a beat really as far as like her professional life. And obviously I have a, publishing deal and things like that in town. So I've also been, for the most part, okay financially. So I haven't needed necessarily to work. Sure. But I almost did it just for the therapy of it, honestly. Like just to go work and get out of the house. And like, and for me, like I grew up in a blue collar family. So there's something therapeutic to me about like working with your hands and doing things. And like, whether it's building something, whether it's even cutting grass, there's an accomplishment you feel from physically, tangibly doing something. And so I almost did it just for, shits and giggles, honestly, just like, hey, I'll go to work a landscaping job. But then I had to get shoulder surgery. And so
now that kind of messed that up.
Yeah, exactly. There was no physical labor for me for a while.
What did you plan that out just so? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds a little fishy to me.
Yeah, I know. Something's wrong with that. We need
Great excuse, right? Great excuse.
Yeah, I love it.
What was it? Your rotator cuff, Brandon?
No, not the road. Thank God it wasn't the rotator cuff. Yeah. It was my labrum in my left shoulder right here.
Got you. Okay.
But yeah, man, it's so weird actually. It's kind of a long story. I don't want to get into it too deep, but how the whole thing started was I got a flu shot like 2 years ago, and they gave it to me like directly in like the front part of my shoulder right here.
What?
Wow. Never heard of that.
Yeah, I never heard of that either. That's different. But go ahead.
Super strange. So if they ever try to give you a shot in the front part of your shoulder, wave them off. It's bad. It's bad news. And so I don't know if this is like a common theme. I would guess that it's probably not. But for me, what it did was it kind of created like frozen shoulder, which turned into like capulitis, which
oh my gosh.
It was this whole process of like my shoulder muscle was weak, and I tried strengthening it for like, a year and a half. And finally, my doctor, who's one of the best doctors here in Nashville, he works on all kinds of people in town. And I was seeing him for a while, and he told me, he was like, hey man, you don't have to get surgery, but it's inevitable that you're going to have surgery at some point. So it's whatever you want to do. If you want to do it now, you can do it now. If you want to do it some other time. And I was just like, man, this year has already been such a, great
get it over with.
Yeah.
Did that affect your playing at all? I mean, just.
I have a great story about this. Actually, I was so nervous about getting this surgery because I've had a few surgeries in my life. I had knuckle surgery when I was younger, right here on my right knuckle. I had like wisdom teeth, a few other things that I can't even think of off the top of my head that were like 4 or 5 different surgeries. So, and when I was younger, I never really was nervous about them. But as I've gotten older, I really don't like going under the knife if I don't have to. It's very now kind of, it gets in my head a little bit. And so right before I was going into surgery in pre-op, I looked at my doctor. I was like, man, I'm really nervous about, playing guitar. I was like, I love playing guitar. That's what I do every single day. It's like I'm attached to the guitar. Like how long can I not play guitar? And he goes, man, I gave surgery to Peter Frampton, and he was back out on the road 4 days later playing guitar. And I was like, oh, damn, dude.
Dude, go ahead then.
Yeah, I was like, let's do this, dude. Let's go.
Then you had a good doctor for sure.
Exactly, yeah. And notice he didn't say he was playing guitar in 4 days. He was back out on the road playing guitar 4 days later. So I was like,
I mean, that's like being all out. So
yeah, no telling what kind of drugs he was on though.
I was gonna say he had to have a couple extra drinks or something to mix it up. That first week.
Frampton was probably on some crazy stuff.
I love it. I love this, man. Brandon Ratcliff signed with Monument and Sony Music, and he's got a single on the radio, Sometimes Almost Never. Tell us a little bit about the single.
Yeah, man. So first of all, thank you guys so much for playing it. I am so grateful. Anybody, is a fan of me or anything I've done. It's really humbling. But yeah, the song, honestly, I mean, it was kind of one of those weird titles for me where I don't really even write like this anymore. But the Nashville kind of way to write for the most part. And maybe a better way to say it is I still write like this sometimes, but the Nashville kind of way of writing songs is a lot like book titles, right? So like really the whole, songwriting process kind of hangs on the idea. So for me, like a lot of times, and for a lot of our writers in town, that looks like just writing down a ton of different titles that seem interesting to you. And I had this title, Sometimes Always Never, written down for probably 6 to 8 months. And I didn't know what it meant other than just the, I think it means something like about a coat, a suit coat. Like there's a button, sometimes, always, never is what they say. Like you're supposed to sometimes button the top, or maybe I don't know.
You're asking a guy that doesn't wear a suit.
I was gonna say, look, I have no experience doing that either. So yeah, I'm trying to tell you about the meaning, but
all right.
But so anyway, I just finally was, we had some write with one of my best friends in town, and he co-produces my records and co-writes almost every song with me. His name's Pete Good, and we had a write with Walker Hayes, who is also at Monument.
Yes, love him.
I'd never written with Walker before, and I'm like, for a lot of people who don't know this, like I moved to Nashville to be a writer first. So that's kind of the thing to me that a lot of artists are different than me, where a lot of artists and that obviously what I put out is my main focus, but I also love being a writer. So I tell people often, I explain it this way, I wear 2 different hats, right? So if I'm in the room with an artist, usually I take my artist hat off and I put on songwriter hat, and I go, I'm here for you. I want to write songs for other people as well, because that's just something I'm passionate about. So, but if it's for me, I take this, I have artist hat on, and I'm very controlling about my thing. If it's my thing, I'm really like, I'm delicate about it. I'm very like, hey, it has to be, Brandon's thing. But for that day, I'd never written with Walker, and so I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know if we were writing for him, for me. And usually when you're in that scenario, you kind of just go, all right, let's just write a great song. Let's stop focusing on who it's for or what we're, our MO is. Let's just write a great song. And I went into that write, and I just said, hey, man, I got this title, Sometimes Always Never. I don't know what it means, but it just looks kind of interesting to me. And Walker, who I found out through this write is a genius songwriter. He's an incredible songwriter. And he just starts kind of spewing out this almost like I hate to say rap, but it's almost like a poetic little just like an almost a rap, and he was like, sometimes I look for your black Civic when I'm done. And he didn't have all the words, but he was kind of like mumbling through these things. And I was like, man, that's cool. And we finally got to the end of it, and we were like, but I sometimes, always, never do. And as soon as we got to that thing, I was like, oh, this is great. What a great idea. Like to like hang everything, talk about sometimes you do this, you always do this. And then but I never end up doing it, honestly. And so I was like, man, that's an interesting way to look at it. And so after we kind of got that angle, it really went like, and this is kind of the story of a lot of songs, is once you get the central idea, it's like, it's pretty smooth sailing sometimes when you really know what the main thing you're trying to say is, because you're like, oh, now the cat's out of the bag, right? Now we know where we're driving to, instead of just like roaming around somewhere and hoping we end up in the right place.
Amazing.
Man.
It's
so, coming from a family in the music business, was it or is it more challenging for you to, create your own identity and, get the contacts that they have? Do they connect you with people, or do they say, oh, you're on your own, you have to go figure it out yourself? So where do you see yourself with all of that?
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, for me, like my family, they never really made it like, they were never really adamant about me being in the music industry. In fact, like my mom kind of, I think, was more reserved. She was the one who sang. She was the kind of songbird, and in my whole family, she was one of the main singers of the family band. And my dad was kind of the opposite. He was like a, hard blue collar worker. He was up every day like 4 o'clock and, worked in the oil field and pipeline and stuff. And so I kind of came from a family that, like, although they did it constantly, they never really like made it like an obvious thing for me to do. And so that includes really like, they would introduce me to people and all this stuff, and we would go to shows, but they never really made it feel like you have to do this, or like, hey, here's this person we know, hey, this would be a great, opportunity for you. It was kind of more casual than that. And it was more just like, hey, this is just what we do. You don't have to do this necessarily. But when I first moved to Nashville, the one person I knew was Allison Krauss, because Allison was kind of like, she was almost like family to us growing up, like she was like an aunt to me. I saw her all the time. My mom and them were, had been friends with her for like 20, 30 years. And so I knew her pretty much since I was a kid. And so when I got to Nashville, she was the one person I knew, which is not a bad person to know.
No, not at all.
But still, I didn't really know a ton of people. And come to find out, like, as we were talking about earlier, I found out that my parents and my, folks actually know a ton of people, but they just never really, it was never really like handed to me, I guess, in that way, where it was more like, hey, you find out what crew works for you, you go meet new people, and we'll give you a couple people along the way, but like, you kind of write your own story, which works really well for me, because honestly, to answer the other part of your question, I was kind of like, I'm still this way. I'm very independent by nature. I'm very like, I don't like being told what to do, and I don't like being forced to do anything. I'm very like,
you're in control of your own.
I'm in control of my own.
Yep.
I'm not. I don't like dependent on anybody. I don't like. I want to write my own story, and sometimes people, that can come off as being prickly or controlling, but it's just who I am. Like it's just in my DNA, and so for me, like I kind of rebelled for a long time against the music industry, because I was like, oh no, that's their thing. I don't want to have anything to do with that. I'm Brandon. They're the Cox family, and I almost kind of took it for granted a little bit. And I wanted, when I first got to Nashville, to be like, no, I want to write my own thing. I don't want to know who y'all's people are. I want to be able to write my own stuff. I don't want anybody to ever be able to say it was because his family was in the music industry. That was to me like my worst fear. And now it's different. Like as I've kind of gotten older, I think I think about it a little different now, because I kind of just more now respect what they've done. And I kind of see it as more like, man, it's something to be proud of. Actually, it's not really something to be, fight against constantly. It's more, something you should actually talk about, because it actually feels more authentic. And in some ways, like for me, and this kind of goes to what I was telling you guys earlier, like it's kind of bleeding through in the new stuff I'm writing now. Because I see it and I go, man, this is my heritage. This is my family. There's something to be proud of. A lot of people work family businesses all over the country. This just happens to be my family business.
Right.
Well, plus you're established now, so you did pave your own path, and you had maybe a few resources here and there, but it's like you said, you're proud of what they've accomplished, but you've accomplished your own career path. So
I appreciate that. Seriously, that's y'all's words, not mine. But
I look at those things. I watch all you young people and how it comes about.
I love it. I'll tell you. I mean, come on, y'all just make.
Listen, when you become big and famous, really, really big and famous, just remember us. The first podcast people. So
I'll have that mug in my pantry. I'll always remember hey, there it is.
Yes.
Podcast. Come on.
Oh, I'll be sending it out tonight. No, first thing in the morning. Let me put it down. So,
I love it. Come on.
It's pretty exciting to have you on and who you are, and already signed to a major label, as we talked about earlier. And when I was talking to Brian Michael about it, we actually had him on Skip Happens a few weeks ago, and he's being very forward in what he's doing, very aggressive. He's making it work. And he said, you're having Brandon on. I love Brandon Ratcliff. And I want to ask you, Brian, how did you know about Brandon?
I mean, just, being an artist and just constantly trying to sharpen my craft and trying to sharpen my pen and just keep my ear open to all different genres. And then, I just came across some of Brandon's stuff on New Boots and things like that. And, saw that he was signed to Monument Records and things like that. And, so just from the jump, your first single, just grabbed my ear, and I was just like, man, I love your energy. I feel like you're really vibrant and just kind of very similar to me. I feel like a lot of similarities in their high energy. So to me, it was just like, man, I love this. I love this guy's work. I love his craft. And so it was more on, just trying to stay well versed and listen to, all different stuff on country radio and on the platforms too. And that's why I first, found Brandon's music and just was like, dude, this kid's a beast.
I never heard somebody.
Yeah, man. It's just like anytime I might be a little bit different than you, Brandon, the fact that I think you're this way. I can tell just by how you talk about Shane and stuff, but sometimes my actual first thing is not a songwriter. So I'm artistry first. Songwriter has become a big part of me. Like you say, just kind of telling my story, but it wasn't my strength out of the gate. It was more the singing and performing. And so just trying to get better, and become the best writer at the same time to just grow as an artist. And so, but hearing that, it's pretty cool to hear your story and all that stuff. But like I said to Skip, I was like, man, you think I can, just be a part of it, just because anytime I can be around someone like yourself and learn and become a better artist and smarter. But it's just amazing. I said to Skip and Deb the first time when I was on the podcast, I was like, I've been coming back and forth to Nashville about 2 years now. And it's people like you, Brandon, that just makes Nashville so special, because your hearts and just these incredibly humble and kind and loving and caring people that know that it is about the music, and push any sort of at least my vibe has been it's not, the energy is just we're here and we all love music, so let's just hang out and just make it about the music and not me or who, someone else that might be bigger than me. It's just you guys all, we all support each other, and it's special, man.
That's cool.
Man, I first of all, dude, you about bring a tear to my eye over here at
I was looking for tissues over here while he was talking.
Seriously, thank y'all so much. Everything, man. I so appreciate all that. And I will say, to just piggyback on what you're saying, man, you're right about this Nashville. That is one thing I love about Nashville, is it is a very communal place. And that's kind of, for me, that's always the thing, is and this year is really, I know it's been a crazy year for everybody, and there's a lot of negative that's happened this year, but for me, I always kind of bring it to a spiritual place, but for me, like I've had a lot of amazing stuff happen for me personally this year, just the internal growing. And part of it is exactly what Brian was saying there, which is like making it, man, at the end of the day, it's about the music. Like that's what I came here for. That's what a lot of people come here for is not, I mean, trust me, we all want to be heard. We all want to be, have a platform and an audience and all this stuff, because that's a huge part of it. But at the end of the day, like I'm just one of those people that like, man, I do this for free. I would do this for nobody. I would do this, that's to me, like when I go write songs every day, like there is no greater feeling than that to me. Like the birth of something that feels like a new idea. Like we just showed up here and there was nothing hours ago, and now we have something that's really cool and it feels authentic to who I am. That feeling to me is irreplaceable. It's something I want to experience all the time. And yeah, man. And I think that's like what a lot of people come here for. They realize that at the end of the day, like money, fame, all that stuff is amazing, but that's fleeting at the end of the day. If you don't really love what you do, if you don't love the grind, then you're probably not going to be cut out for this thing.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. It's you hit it right on the head, man. It's like what you get, and I think it's what's special about the camaraderie of the community about Nashville. It's like all about the community and part of the community, but it's like that camaraderie when you guys sit in a room and write up with something. It's just like you get excited together, and it just builds that just like whole team, like again, camaraderie and stuff like that, where it's special. It's totally special.
Let me ask you this. We're going to have a little bit of fun here. I got some questions, and maybe we'll get off the music thing for just a little bit. I know.
Oh.
I see you.
Let's go, man.
I know, but I have to, you being an established artist is, you've got it going. You're right on the edge of hitting the big time.
Oh yeah. You are big time, dog. Come on.
Yeah, you are. But what advice would you give to somebody like Brian or any other new artist that is trying to get their feet wet, trying to make something of themselves?
Oh man, geez, guys, seriously. I mean,
it's a tough one, I know, but seriously.
It's a great question, honestly. I mean, I would say, first of all, Brian, you're already on the right track because you're coming to a place like Nashville. The first thing I would tell people is, look, I grew up in a very small town. Like I was telling you guys earlier, Cotton Valley, Louisiana. I mean, it's a drive-by town. If you blink, for a second, you might miss the whole place. And my folks, I grew up in a music family, and I remember from a very early age, my mom telling me, she was like, if you're ever going to do, if you ever want to do something like music, you're going to have to leave here. Like it won't, you can't do it here. It's kind of a little bit like that, a prophet in his hometown kind of thing. It just doesn't work out. You gotta get out. You gotta go to the hub where things are actually happening. And I'm not saying you don't have anomalies or random anecdotal evidence of people who blow up in their hometowns. That does happen, but I think generally speaking, you got to go to the place where music is kind of like the forefront of people's minds, and it's an actual industry. And secondly, I would say maybe just as important, if not more, is just finding the thing that you like about you as an artist, in the sense of like your identity. What is your thumbprint? And I think this is something that every artist has to go through and has to figure out. And sometimes it takes 20 years, sometimes it takes 20 months, so whatever. And sometimes it's for me, it's a constant evolution, right? You're always figuring this out. But I would say that the moment you feel like something feels like it has your DNA in it, or like, whoa, I don't really know what this is, but it feels like me. That's the thing I always tell artists to do who are like young up and coming artists, or who are trying to come in town, write their songs, is just like always like patiently but fervently pursue that thing, whatever it is that makes you like authentically you. Because people generally, and I say this even from my own personal standpoint, they're not really interested in the version that you think is like, what everybody will like. They're interested in the version that you actually are. That's the thing people actually care about. And I think that's something we're always, learning. I'm still learning that lesson. I've already learned some of that stuff even from my first record now to my second stuff, the stuff I'm doing now. It's like you're always kind of finding like new ways to go, well, I kind of knew what I was doing there, but like I'm really honing it in now,
Yeah.
So to me, I think kind of identifying like what it is that you love individually about music. I think that's to me probably the most important thing because it gives you your identity.
It's awesome. Some great advice.
Yeah. Great advice.
Absolutely. If somebody wants to get a hold of your music, they can go to a website, I would assume.
Yes, you can go. I believe my God, I'm so bad at this.
I have it.
I know.
I think I have it right here.
I'm gonna say Deb's got me covered over here.
Deb's got all of us covered. Let me tell you.
BrandonRatcliff.com. Really easy.
Yeah.
Deb is the business side of things here. I am the other side. I am so unorganized. Deb is so organized. So that's what makes this work. So
I'm gonna say I'm just like you. I got people in my life, luckily, who can be like organized. But if it were up to me, I would be the worst. I'm so bad at telling people like follow me, all this stuff. I'm so bad.
The artist thing. I think that's just part of us artists, right? Like it's like also like being responsive. Like people be like, what's up? Like being on time or like responding quickly to text messages. Like just kind of like. Yeah, like
I love it. I love
it. Passing is normal to not hear back.
I love your energy, Brandon, because you've got what it takes, and you're like a big star already. You're just, when I can't say this enough, and going back to what we said in the very beginning, when I first heard the song, the single, and when it was sent to me, and they said, "Dude, you got to listen to this, and we want you to add it because it's hot." Well, they weren't kidding. Your song is hot, so
that thing's fire, man.
Yeah, it's on fire. So that's definitely going to do it. Yes, Deb.
Oh, I would say you have this EP has 5 songs on it right now. Is that what it is?
That's 5 songs.
So is there a follow-up coming to this, or are we promoting just this one right now and you have another one, way down the road?
Might be a secret.
What's the game plan here?
Honestly, it might be a secret, but I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag either way because speaking from the hip here. Yes, there is more to come from this. I don't know exactly what the plan is, above me.
Nice.
But this EP is basically there is a back half to this that is like a full record. It's already been done for like I think going on like over 2 years now. I've pretty much been done with this record. It was already recorded. So we're our way of kind of getting it out in the world was like, all right, let's get the EP out. And now I am breathing down everybody's necks to get the rest of the record. So hopefully it'll come out really soon.
Okay. Well, we're looking forward to it. I love all of these songs. I was listening to them over and over and over. So I'm already ready for the next 5.
And she could probably tell you the length of every song too.
Yeah.
Deb has it all down.
I love it.
3 minutes and 24 seconds.
I'm just as ready for new material as you guys are.
Okay, good.
Have you had the chance to experience the country radio seminar in February?
I have. I didn't do it this year, which I didn't. Did they have it this year?
Yeah, we had it. I don't know if we're going to have it this coming February.
I didn't go this year, but the last couple of years I did. I went, and I had a funny, kind of crazy experience. The last CRS I did was the year, not this year, but the one right before for Rules of Breaking Up and everything. And I had a really interesting experience because when I was going up to the event we had downtown in Nashville, I can't remember what like hotel or it was or whatever, but it was me and then Maren Morris, the Girl record was coming. It's me, Rules Breaking Up, and then Girl was coming right after it. And I had this weird moment where I was like, oh my God, 3 years ago, prior to whenever I was going there, me and Maren Morris went to my first CRS. And Maren Morris was not Maren Morris at the time. She was just Maren, who wrote
writer.
And I was just a guy who didn't even have a publishing deal, but we both went to our like a CRS and we saw Keith Urban do John Cougar, John Deere, John 316, and
we were all there.
Brother Warren did Stay a Little Longer, and Chris Stapleton came out saying all this at the Ryman actually, and so
the lunch at the Ryman.
Oh yes, and I had this weird moment where I was like, oh my god, I forgot that even happened. So, and that was my first CRS. So, but I love CRS. It's so fun, man. It's so cool to see songs in those elements and just how people present it and everything.
And being at the Ryman for that lunch experience is pretty cool in itself. So, and Deb and I have been doing that. Well, we actually, first time we talked business was back at the CRS, I want to say 10, maybe 12 years ago. But, you know, I've been going for almost 20 years. Deb's been going for a while, but it's a great event. It's a great event. I have to ask, what are you drinking in that glass that you were waving earlier?
So it's now gone. I tried to get my wife, who is now here in the apartment, to get me another one on the way home, but it was Hazy Little Thing IPA.
Oh, are you a big IPA guy? I would assume.
I am. I'm not a big beer guy at all. Like growing up, I was never into like just, you know, typical, you know, regular like PBR kind of stuff or like Budweiser or anything like that. I never really drank it. I mean, everybody I knew growing up drank it. And when I was, you know, younger, obviously you drank what you had to, but I just was not really big into it. You know, beer was not my thing. But then when I was on the road the last couple of years, some friends of mine kind of introduced me to IPAs and craft beer. And I was like, man, I really kind of enjoy just sipping on an IPA. There's something just really nice to it. It's a great little buzz, and it's also a great taste. You know? So,
hey, it's a great way to chill at the end of the day. Have yourself an IPA. That's all.
Exactly.
Before you end up wrapping things up, one thing I love about the watch party is I get all kinds of people going that join us. Some pop in, some pop out, but I have two top fans that really are big fans. So I thought you could give a shout out to Tiffany Voss. We got Tiffany Voss.
What up, Tiffany?
And she's commented quite a few times, loves your music. And then my daughter Julie actually is another top fan, and she's commenting over here. So maybe give a shout out to her. She's over at college right now in her senior year, so she's watching from there.
Julie, I hope you have a great. You said senior year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Julie, I hope you have a great senior year. I thank you so much for being a big fan of mine. I am forever indebted to you. Thank you.
So now you can continue on. Just throw that out there. We got some great fans out there, so we like to bring them up to the attention.
Absolutely. All right, I got some. We're gonna have a little bit of fun before we wrap it up here tonight. Let's find out a little more about Brandon Ratcliff, and kind of go a little bit deeper. So I have a list of 25 questions.
Okay. All right, you're limited to 4.5. No, go ahead.
All right. No. This is how I'm going to do it this time around. Every podcast, we do this a little bit different. Pick a number between 1 and 25.
Pick a number between 1 and 25?
Dude, you're making me dizzy.
I had my battery's about to die on my computer.
Oh, so no.
I got to get over here and get plugged up.
All right, we'll give you a minute. Are you in?
All right. 1 and 25, you said?
Yeah, pick a number between from 1 to 25.
1 to 25.
Pick a number, and I'll ask the question that with that number.
Let's go for 15.
15. Oh, dude.
I like that start, Skip.
Yeah, I know exactly. What's your go-to dance move?
Oh, wow. My go-to dance move. Man, you know, honestly, I don't really have a go-to dance move. I'm more of like a just move kind of person. Like, honestly, dancing in general to me, I'm one of those people who just kind of like goes with it. I'm like get my shoulders going, and I kind of everything after that is just freelance. I'm just kind of shooting from the hip.
It's a guy thing. I got you, bro. I got you.
No.
Give me another one.
Let's do 21.
What was your first concert?
Oh, man.
Good question.
Good question. So I have been fortunate to go to so many concerts in my life, both ones that I've played at, but my family has played at. I mean, I cannot even tell you how many concerts I went to growing up.
Oh, yeah.
I was on tour buses when I was like real young, the whole thing. So I've been to a ton of concerts, but the first one I ever remember, and my mom might correct me on this, but the one that I kind of, you know how you have those childhood memories where you're like,
Sure.
I don't remember a lot, but I remember this one random thing I did. It was Charlie Daniels, and we were at a, God rest his soul. We were at a fair. I think it's some kind of fair in maybe Louisiana or Texas or something. And Charlie played, and I don't really remember much of the show, but I remember after the show, he gave me and my brother a pair of boots because we went backstage. We went back.
Kidding.
And met him, and my folks knew him and everything. And I knew him growing up and everything, and he was such an amazing man. And yes, that was my first concert though. Charlie Daniels.
Charlie was always a great interview too.
Oh man, he's such a good entertainer too.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of interviewing him. I want to say less than a year ago, and then and God rest his soul.
Right.
Oh wow, do you still have those boots?
I do. My mom does. She has them somewhere. I have this old USO jacket he gave me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I get some really cool memorabilia from him. I actually just one of those pictures my mom was showing us this weekend was Charlie with his big old hat on holding me, and I looked really upset in the picture too. So it's really funny. I was not in a good mood.
Wait a minute. If he was holding you, then you had to be like knee high to a grasshopper back.
Oh yeah, I was like 4 or 5 years old probably.
Oh my Lord. Oh wow. Yeah. That's cool though. All right, let's do another one.
All right, let's see. Let's do 12. My dad's old high school number.
Number 2.
All right, here we go. Number 12. Most adventurous thing you've done that your parents don't know about.
Oh.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah.
Should
we pick another one?
Well, you can pick one that you know they won't get mad at now they hear it.
I'm trying to think of what they wouldn't know about. Let's see. We're pretty open for the most part. You know, they know most of the things I've done. What is the first thing I've ever done that they don't know about?
Did you ever get in trouble with the cops at all or anything like that they wouldn't have any clue about? Never.
Oh,
I knew it.
Yes, my wife just made eye contact with me over here in the living room. Let's just pray my parents are not listening to this right now. I'm gonna break news. I got a misdemeanor in a Utah airport one time that my parents do not know about.
Well, they're gonna know now.
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
That's good enough, brother. That's good enough. Been there, done that. That's good. That's good. All right, let's do. We'll do 2 more. All right, give me one more right now. We'll do one after this too.
Okay. Let's do. Man, that was so funny. Let's do 7.
7.
Okay.
One thing you avoid at catering.
Oh, great question.
Food, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. If you ask any of my my band members or guys that have tour managed for me on the road before, I notoriously skip all catering. I am like very. My mom calls me picky, but my wife says that I'm particular. I do not mess around with like mass-produced food for the most part. So usually for me, for instance, was it last year, 2019? I went on the Kelsey, the Miss Me More tour with Kelsey and Brett, and I didn't eat catering one single time, not one single time.
Wow.
And I'm a notorious, I'm a massive sandwich guy. I love sandwiches. I eat sandwiches almost every day. And so for me, my one thing I had on my rider for our green rooms was like, just give me sandwich stuff. If you give me turkey, ham, and bread, I'll make the most basic sandwich in the world and I'll be happy. I'm fine with that.
That's interesting. I like that. Good answer.
Yeah.
Smart man too.
There you go, right?
Yeah. Okay, one more.
Let's do number 5.
Most important quality to look forward to in a I never mind. You don't want that one. Another one. Pick another one.
Okay, number 2.
Well, you don't have one, so this is all about a beard. I don't know. Maybe you need to pick another one. Pick another one.
Let's do something weird like 17.
All right.
Something weird.
Okay. We got that. I don't know why that's weird.
It's just a number, right? Who knows? Yeah.
It's the number, dude. All right. What's the first thing you do when you wake up?
Ooh. I mean, first thing I do is probably TMI, but I probably pee like right out of the gate. And then
That's the morning routine right there.
Yeah.
For me, I'm big on like, especially these days, like getting like breathing, meditation, and prayer for me is a big, huge thing right out of the gate. And so but I'll spend some time really on the breathing thing because that is like a new thing for me this year. But I'm a big fan of a guy named Wim Hof. I don't know if you guys know this guy or not.
He's a beast.
I love Wim Hof, man. The Ice Man. He is incredible.
Yeah, man. I've been with him, like studying his whole like craft.
Dude, it's unbelievable. And he kind of changed my whole mindset towards breathing and meditation and all that. And I'm trying to get this light blocked out here.
Oh, you're good. You look good.
He does these whole things where you do 30 deep breaths in and then you hold your breath for as long as you can with no air. And man, it is like just so incredible to start your morning off like that. And I broke 4 minutes like a few weeks ago. So
oh my gosh,
I'd be passed out.
Crazy, man.
I'd be dead.
My wife would be picking me up off the floor if I tried that.
I'm telling you, you should try it. I'm telling you, it'll blow your mind, man. It's crazy.
I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up when we get down here tonight in just a minute. And I have one question. What's the name of the podcast?
Hey, Skip Happens.
Yes.
Brandon Ratcliff, thank you so much for joining us here tonight, man. I tell you, you're right there on the edge and listening to the music, the EP that you have out. Deb has been listening to it all day. I've been listening to it. I'm playing the single on the radio. Man, I'll tell you, dude, you got it. You got it. You're going to pick. I don't know if I should say it this way or not. Maybe I just don't know how to say it correctly, but I'm going to say it anyways. You're going to pick up where Kane Brown leaves off. I think you've got that style. You've got that going for you. You've got that new sound. You've got the sound that, and I see a lot of our demographics who's listening to what, and the 18 to 34-year-olds are big on that sound. And if you can make them happy, and especially the women, dude, you're going to be over the top. You're going to make it. Your wife's going to be like, she's going to be going with you on every show and providing the IPA and all that good stuff. And that's cool.
Man, thank you guys so much. I so appreciate all the kind words tonight. Thank y'all so much for having me. I would not have had it any other way than to start my podcast career on What Happens.
Great.
I love it. I love it.
Great.
Yes, thank you. And I know Deb with the Country Music Fan Club, she's got a Facebook page. I don't know if you've liked it yet. Deb could pass that along to you.
I'm on my way.
All right. The Country Music Fan Club, like us, will follow you and we'll be promoting you all the way to the top.
Exactly.
There we go.
Thank you guys for letting me be a part of this. And just, man, Brandon, it's a pleasure meeting you, man. And I hope to cross paths with you, man, at some point on this journey. So,
Brian, it was good to meet you, my man.
Pleasure to meet you too, man. Keep crushing it.
We want y'all to go online, go to BrandonRatcliff.com. Is that right, Deb?
That is correct.
Okay. Notice I didn't ask the artist.
You'll find out about him. His music is there. His bio is there.
It's that. And Brian Michael, you can find him online as well. And what's your website again, Brian? Is it Brian Michael?
Yeah, it's BrianMichaelMusic.com.
There you go. I knew there was a music in there. Okay, got it. All right, y'all. Brandon, thank you so much. Peace to you, my friend. You're awesome. Look forward to meeting you in person someday. And man, I'll tell you, just thank you for being a part of Skip Happens tonight.
For sure.
Thank you guys so much.
Yep. Cheers, guys.
Signing off. Thank you for tuning in, everyone.
See you guys. Have a great night.